What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? DoctorDDub here, and today we're going to be taking a look at everything we know about the villagers in Farm Folks. As always with these videos, keep in mind that what we'll be discussing today pertains to the game in its pre-alpha stage of development, meaning anything we cover here could be drastically different upon launch. Aside from depicting the cast of the characters that we know so far, today's video isn't going to be too visually engaging, so feel free to just close your eyes or do something else and just listen along. With that being said though, let's take a look at some of the characters we'll be meeting during our time on Softshoal Island. First up is Mayor Randolph Snodgrass. Obviously, he's the mayor of Port Meridia, and from what we can tell, he's probably going to be a pretty quirky character. Here's what Overgrown Studios has to say about him. If you think upon the world's most famous leaders, some incredibly awesome men and women will fill your mind. Among them, Mayor Randolph Snodgrass is not. But hey, he'll never stop trying to make that list, and that's why he's been the mayor of Meridia for 5 uncontested terms. Mayor Snodgrass is a bit melodramatic and his worry meter is constantly set on high, but when things are going right, you'll never see a happier man. Every day he's faced with an always climbing inbox and a never diminishing outbox. But he seems to thrive off the challenges of his office, even if he's losing more of his hair by the week. As a lifer of Softshoal Island, the residents know he's got the best intentions for the island and its town at the forefront of his mind. Up next is Della, the woman who will likely be running the ranch on the island where you will need to visit in order to obtain animals of your own. According to the devs, the locals knew Della was going to be a handful from the moment she could walk. You see, when the walking started, soon came the running. When Della was just barely out of diapers, she ran into the forest alone, only to appear 4 hours later with a fox pup cradled in her arms. While most children would be screaming for help, young Della wore a smile that could be seen from the other side of town. Schooling had never been her thing. She was, in fact, quite bad at school. But her life was on a different path. One she carved for herself the day she walked out of those woods. That young fox, too small to return into the forest alone, became a class in animal care for Della. She raised the fox and cared for it, discovering in the process her passion for creatures of all sizes. Next on the list is Gilbert, the owner of Gilbert's Goods, which, as I mentioned previously, is most likely the name of the general store in Port Meridia. Much to the community's disappointment, it does not appear that he will be a romanceable bachelor. Sorry guys. The Kickstarter page states the following. Whether it's seeds to make next harvest a bountiful one, or feed to keep the animals pleased, Gilbert's Goods is the one-stop shop for keeping your farm moving. And who sits behind the counter at such a fine establishment? None other than Gilbert himself, except on Sundays, of course. Gilbert knows Meridia like a summer day knows a swimming hole. A lifelong resident, he's shot the breeze with everyone in town and has something to say about each and every one. If you ask some of the older residents, they'll jokingly refer to Gilbert as the man the mayor asks for directions. That and a variety of other colorful nicknames. The last of the characters highlighted on the Kickstarter campaign page is Lenora, the town's blacksmith. She'll be the one to turn the raw metals you acquire from your mining adventures into items such as furniture, tools, and sprinklers, and as such will play a vital role in the development of your farm. According to Overgrown, Lenora used to be a big fan of the phrase, "It's what's on the inside that counts," until she learned that it was almost exclusively used to describe people. Not only was that a long shot from the truth, she realized nobody had been referring to the highly sought metals that were lying just below their very feet. There's one more character that has been mentioned but not pictured yet, and that is Larson, an older man and the owner of a quarry on Softshoal Island who has an extensive knowledge about the mines and caves on the island and will likely be the one who first introduces us to mining. He might even be the one who provides us with our first pick, we're not sure. These are just 5 of the 9 characters we know about so far, and I'll be covering the last 4 here in just a sec, but when the game is finished, we can expect to see 30 plus characters inhabiting the island, some of which will live in Port Meridia itself, while others will be scattered around the island. They will offer plenty of quests for us to go on, we'll be able to develop relationships with them, presumably through persistent communication, completing quests for them, gift giving, etc. And of course, you can't have a farming sim without each villager having a unique birthday. Some of these villagers are also able to be romanced, which brings us to the last part of this video, what we know about the bachelors and bachelorettes of Softshoal Island. Overgrown Studios just recently released their 8th update on the Kickstarter page, A Colorful Cast. In this update, we learned about 3 new characters who will be in the game, all of which are eligible to date and eventually marry. Starting things off, we have Dr. Tungani, the doctor of the island. You were my first shipwrecked patient, if I'm speaking honestly. You and I will need to be ready for anything. One of the most hardworking, dedicated people you'll ever meet, Dr. Tungani spends her life caring for others. She has a difficult time with the concept of taking a break, so she works every day of the week. She owns the clinic in Port Meridia and cares for all its citizens with the help of her loyal assistant and apprentice, Cora. She hails from a faraway continent where there were far fewer opportunities and spent much of her early life working her hardest to make her way somewhere new. Her drive and determination are every aspect of her character, and she always gives herself 100% to anything she sets her mind to. Will she treat love the same way? Up next, we have Silas, a fellow farmer. You know, they got a name for people who are real good with plants. A green thumb, right? Well, what the heck do they call me? The guy who can't keep them alive long enough to get them in the ground. It's hard to meet someone more positive and upbeat than Silas. He's a big man with a massive heart of gold, always willing to help a neighbor. Despite his struggles to maintain the land he owns, he maintains a happy demeanor and spends his free nights climbing up to the astronomer's observatory so he can watch the stars with a sense of wonder and joy. Silas owns a small plot of farmland called Plot Partridge that neighbors your own farm and helps to grow food for Port Meridia. During his off time, he likes to explore the forest with Gilbert or map and learn about the night sky. Perhaps he would have preferred to be an astronomer with how often his eyes are looking up at the sky. Last but not least is Valenti, I think that's how you say it at least, the island's jewelry crafter. Love is a powerful thing, no? If you ever wish to prove that love to your beloved, it is me that you shall seek. I'll sell you a stone that will make the heart skip a beat. It's almost impossible not to notice Valenti when he's in the room. Between his carefully prepared outfit to the glittering jewelry on his body, he makes himself stand out with a flourish. His personality is no less ostentatious, with a slightly dramatic flair and passion for all elements of his life. He owns the jewelry shop in Meridia and turns rare gems the player finds into beautiful jewelry. Valenti comes from a long line of jewelers, and he was more than happy to follow in his father's footsteps. He came to Port Meridia seeking several unique and particularly rare gems to his mainland shop from Softshoal Island, and set up a new place of business in town with the hopes of getting his hands on more of those rare gems. However, recent problems on the island have meant fewer people mining and fewer gems. That's it for the bachelors and bachelorettes featured in this update. The artwork of all 3 of these characters was done by the wonderful Mage, who I've actually had the privilege of talking with in the Farm Folks Discord a little bit, and she's absolutely awesome. But if you guys like what you see, feel free to check her out. I'll have her social media links down in the description below. There's actually one additional bachelorette who we don't even have a name for yet, but Julie, the community manager for Overgrown Studios, teased a Baker bachelorette in the Farm Folks Discord that I am entirely too excited to learn more about. I've always had a thing for Baker bachelorettes in the early Harvest Moon games. For those of you that remember Ellie, I kind of always had a thing for her. And while yes, we only know about 4 of the bachelors/bachelorettes at this time, there are, according to Overgrown Studios, plenty of candidates. What that means, however, hopefully we'll find out soon. When asked if there will be same-sex marriage candidates in the game, Overgrown Studios' response was, "It's 2018, people. Of course there will be." So that's nice to see. Bachelors and bachelorettes will also have specific quests designed for gaining their friendship, affection, and eventually marriage. Once married, as I've said before, you'll be able to have a kid, the mechanics of which we know nothing about, and I can't say it enough because it's just so awesome, but that kid can do work around the farm. Hooray for free labor! Lastly, and this is more of a side note, but Port Meridia, the place where most of these villagers live, has been hinted at that we might be able to add new buildings as the game progresses and even upgrade certain portions of the town, which to me sounds awesome. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of today's video. If there's anything I missed or if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll be sure to address them. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll be back with some more Farm Folks info for you guys real soon. And until then, as always, take care.